And we'll call the Barron County Board of Supervisors for Monday, June 17th, 2024 into order and have roll call. It's asking me to sign in again. Okay. No, don't do anything yet. Don't. Did you? All right, well. Yeah, just for you. Would he be talking about your rollover? Did you tell Charlie about that? Your change? You didn't tell her yet. So he might be talking about that. Okay.
We're going to try it again. We're going to let Stacy join the meeting this time.
So everybody sign in? Okay. So. Yep. So, well, how many are you gonna, how many do we have? Okay, there's, okay, one, yeah, we got one vacant from Turtle Lake and then 2 absent. So that means we've got 23, yeah, we got 26 here. Okay. Public notification?
Wendy Coleman, my executive assistant, has complied with Wisconsin open meeting requirements. Meeting agendas have been posted on electronic meeting notice boards located on the first and second floor of the Government Center and on the first floor of the Justice Center. A hard copy of the meeting agenda has been posted in the county clerk's office, and she's verified the proper posting of the meeting for the Barron County Board of Supervisors for June 17th, and this was posted on the 12th at 2:05 p.m.
Okay, Bun, it's your show. He's doing the invocation tonight.
Dear Lord, however each of us understands you, thank you for giving us the opportunity to live in this area. Help us all to make the decisions best for our residents and to please you. Thank you for all of our county employees who day in and day out serve and protect our citizens. Please help all of the county staff to safely perform their duties. Help all citizens of the world excuse me, to assist the helpless, feed the hungry, and house the homeless. Please guide us in our deliberations. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bun. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you have any? Okay, number 4, special matters and announcements. I believe Jess has one.
I actually have 3 of them. As you noticed, we had Supervisor Hanson leading invocation tonight. That's because I am struggling finding any local pastors to lead invocation on a Monday because they typically work the weekend, and nobody wants to do it at 7 p.m. Unfortunately, even with virtual. So if you know anybody, please reach out and have them contact me directly. I'm also still collecting for the County Board Bereavement Fund, so if you haven't paid, you can come see me after the meeting. And then the District 8 vacancy press release was sent out. Louis can speak more to that. The deadline for that is to contact Louis directly by June 26th.
Okay. Item number 5, approve the agenda. Motion by Supervisor Guselick, seconded by Supervisor Heller. Is there any concerns with the agenda? Seeing none, let's vote. Passed by a majority vote of 25 yes and 3 absent. Don't we have 29? Well, that's right, we got 1 vacant. Okay, so you were right, Randy, again. 25-3-1, all right? Okay, so that agenda passed. Item number 6, approve the minutes of the May 20th, 2024 meeting. Motion by Supervisor Heller, seconded by Supervisor Bob Anderson. Any concerns with the minutes? Not? Let's vote. That 25 yes and 3 absent and 1 vacant. Thank you. Item number 7, public comment. We do have one. Ken, you want to come up to the middle podium there and hit the middle speaker? Just state your name and address. I know everybody knows you, but.
My name is Ken Baronic. I live at 1660 21.5 Street, Cameron. My public comment is, from Wednesday, June 5th, Executive Committee, I noticed that the Executive Committee allowed, it says, allow Administrator Jeff French to carry over 56 hours of vacation to be sold to his HSA. I don't know where this has gone. It says it was carried. If that's going to be the new policy, myself and I'm sure other people have
It
gone.
is not, Ken.
Okay.
Since that time, Jeff French, our administrator at exec, he did request to carry over, but he said there's been times that we've denied it and the policy didn't fit well. So Jeff said, I'm going to rescind that. So he's not going to carry any over.
Okay.
He's going to use it or lose it.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because I was going to say if there was years back in 17 that I had like 76 and 3/4 some hours that I tried to get changed at that time in my life. Stuff was going on and I'm getting the parks open. If everybody knows, I used to work for the Parks and Rec and the maintenance department here for 21 years, but now I'm on the road to retirement, so.
And I hope it's going well.
Yeah, at that time. So if it's all taken care of, but if it does get brought up again, I'd like to be
Yep.
on this.
You bet it won't get brought up again. I don't think.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Thank
That's all
you.
my comments. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay, item number 8, the West Cap presentation by Peter Kildy, Executive Director.
How's that? Yep. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Very happy to be here. And on June 30th, I will give up 53 hours of vacation. Again, no, it's not your problem. But it just reminded me. So I'll start with a few thank yous. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to stand up here and talk a little bit about the work West Cap is doing in West Central Wisconsin, and particularly here in Barron. I'd also like to thank you for sending Pam Fall to represent this body on the West Cap board. Apparently didn't make this meeting, but she always makes ours. No, just,
She's on vacation. She
okay, I
already
know.
knows what's
I'm
going
just
on.
kidding.
So
she's just been a great board member and so constructive and helpful and whatnot. Also want to thank this board for the support that we get every year, $4,000 to help do our work. It's in the nonprofit world, and all the strings we got on so many monies, that kind of stuff can be incredibly useful. We very much appreciate it. And I'm going to add another thank you for that invocation tonight, which is right on point with the mission of West Cap and what we do, you know, looking after that population. So I was raised on Lutheran parsonage, so these things mean a lot to me. All right. So moving pretty quickly, our mission statement is up there, taking action against poverty. We have sort of 2 strategies, developing both the social and the economic assets of low-income families and their communities. And the Community Action World was created, next, please. That word is supposed to advance the slide. Next, please. Okay, good. We were created in 1965 as part of what at that time was called the War on Poverty or Great Society or whatever. And part of our mission has always been not just to deal with what I would call the victims of poverty, but also to address some of the underlying causes and try to make things, a little bit better for everybody. And in my work over the years, I've really taken that part of the mission to heart. And I think, that's a big part of what we can do in sort of cooperating together. So a little bit of our history. We were founded in 1965, so we'll be 60 years old in next year. And again, we just operate these anti-poverty programs or poverty, alleviation programs. And then, we also work with many different nonprofit partners and for-profit partners and businesses just to kind of create a better and more fair environment for people where they can, get ahead in this world and meet their needs. So we were originally established by a guy who had been the mayor of Chautauqua, who went around after this was created and found 7 counties that were interested. And that became our service territory. We were the second community action agency in Wisconsin. There's now 16, has been for many years. And every county that we work in sends 3 board members to serve on the WESCAP board. One is the county supervisor, and one is a representative of a community organization, might be Farmers Union, might be the clergy, might be the Center for Aging and Disability, whatever it is, that makes a nice mix, in terms of our board work. And then quite unique in the whole sort of policy space, we also have a person from each county who is themselves experiencing persistent poverty and who's elected by other people who are very low income. So that voice is actually present at the table when we're making decisions about programs and what really works for people and that kind of stuff. So next slide. So otherwise, just a few other sort of organizational things. We are a standard nonprofit, 501c3. We have a lot of associations. Our state association is called WISCAP. We have a very strong national association, Community Action Partnership. I served on the board of that organization for 20 years, just until last year. And I'm still leading an initiative on that board to help community action agencies all around the country deal with the effects of climate change. And we're seeing that just about everywhere. So, there's a lot to, still going on in that relationship. I'm still very connected with all that. And our programs kind of, affect all those areas, impact all those areas that are common needs to low-income folks. Housing, food security, energy assistance. We work on literacy and skills to help people improve their job prospects. We have a long history of trying to help people solve their transportation issues, which many of you, I'm sure, are aware are pretty tough in rural Wisconsin, and deal with other basic needs. And then, very importantly, particularly in this time of our history, we were created as designated a community housing development organization, CHODO. That's a HUD designation for a nonprofit sponsor. Next slide. So we've been able to, develop about 300 of our own housing units and another 600 in collaboration with other folks. So we really do a lot of work in that space. I'll come back to that. So the 7 county service territory that's laid out, identified up there, again, are the 7 counties that originally said they would like to have a CAP agency in their counties. And then in the last few years, due to some challenges to our community action neighborhood to the north, we've also done some of our largest programs, weatherization and energy assistance in particular, in Washington and Burnett County. Next, please. So our annual budget is just a hair under $30 million at this point. With that, we've been able in the last year to serve 38,000 people who receive West Cap assistance either directly or in some cases mostly with our food distribution programs and whatnot in collaboration with other partners. So we have quite an impact around this part of the country. Next slide. So there are some challenges. I want to give you a sense of what we face. Would love to get into the weeds a little bit more on this, but one of the problems that we face is the definition of poverty. You know, the federal poverty level is just wildly inaccurate. It was probably accurate when it was created, 60 years ago, but over the years, it does not really reflect what it takes to meet a survival budget. I've been much impressed by the work that the United Ways have done in a program, in a report called the ALICE report. ALICE is short for Acid Limited Income Constrained but Employed. And they deal with people who are above the federal poverty line, but still can't afford what they've identified as a survival budget. And it's a real thing. And I've become such a fan of this thing that I ended up on the State Research Advisory Council, and that worked out pretty well. I ended up on the National Research Advisory Council, and I'm really encouraging anybody who cares about, people who are financially struggling to get their hands on the ALICE report. There is one for just Wisconsin, and they drill down to the township level on what it actually costs for rent, for childcare, for transportation, for all that kind of stuff. It really is just a remarkable resource. And in the most recent report that came out last year, they were using data from 2021, and they found that 34% of Wisconsin residents are living in poverty under that definition. So that's 1 in 3. You can do the math. And nationwide, it's about 40%. They also have some very good national reports. And that same figure comes out, it's very persistent. The Tufts University did a big report, the Urban Institute, all come out with kind of the same thing. It's about 40% of the population will always be struggling. So as you see folks out there, you kind of get an idea of that. Next slide. So the other challenge I'm sort of referred to is, this is a quote, one of my favorites from Mark Twain. He says, well, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. Well, that's the highest level. And we deal with statistical stuff that just doesn't capture the reality a lot. Next slide. So for a good example here, if you look at, the official story, again, consider the federal poverty level that, determines a lot of eligibility for programs and whatnot. In 2021, the official poverty level in Barron County was 12%. Okay, and if you look at the actual poverty level, defined by people who can't afford a survival budget without public assistance, it was 40%. And you can see the other counties in our service area up there. Next slide. So just to give you a little taste of why that figure got so inaccurate, it was actually fairly accurate when it first came out, because at that time, the average family in America spent 1/3 of their income on food. And a woman named Molly Orshansky, working for USDA to try to figure out when they were starting some food programs, just came out and started doing that sort of stuff. And, figured that, 3 times that food budget would be, poverty level. And, 60 years later, because those costs of that group raised much faster than the consumer price index, which is the adjuster, it's just wildly out of date. So the real poverty level is about 2.5 times what we find in the statistic. Next slide. So for our programs, eligibility, try another hit on that. There we go. It is in there. Good. So household income is usually the defining quality. The federal poverty guidelines I've talked about. One measure that's really very helpful is county median income. That's actually based on the current reality. HUD uses that for all of their programs. It's a much better measure. Next, hit it again. There's more. And then generally, you need to be a resident of West Cap service territory, those 9 counties we identified. We do have a couple other things one up in Phillips, a housing project, and another one in Iowa. But for the most part, we just serve people that are in our geographic zone. Next slide. And just about every program has some program-specific requirements. And you can imagine that, we deal with, last time I checked, about 105 different funding sources. So it's a complex thing. Next slide. So what services we provide, again, if you want to scroll through these and just add, we do a lot of stuff on housing. Housing is probably the primary focus of our activities. We have, I talked about the 1,000 units of housing apartment rentals that we do that are affordable rentals. We do a lot of homeless programs. It's about a third of our agency's work. We administer some Section 8 housing choice vouchers in 3 of our counties. The bottom 2 that are listed up there were COVID programs, both of them winding down. One was emergency rent assistance, and the other was help for homeowners who were at risk because of lost income of losing their homes. And we provided a lot of help to people during that crisis. Now, both of those programs at this point are winding down. Do a lot of stuff around food access, make sure people have enough to eat. Weatherization is a huge program. We'll come back to that. Next, adult education. Again, I mentioned we do literacy. We do some skills development to help people improve their job prospects. Next, energy assistance has been, we were doing that in 2 counties 3 years ago. We're doing it in 9 counties now, where people are eligible for Wisconsin's, home energy assistance program. And then we've tried and a lot of different things to address the transportation challenges people have in rural Wisconsin. It's a tough nut to crack. It really is. But we have a program that's gotten a lot of success. I measure that in part because one Democratic House of Representative person proposed a national program based on exactly that model. And a few years later, a Republican representative from this district proposed a national demonstration model for this program. It's a good idea. We just can't, we have a hard time getting it funded, but it's helping people get into a decent car that's going to last them a while and also build their credit history. We work with the credit union, that kind of stuff. It's a great model, but tough to fund. Next. Okay, so weatherization, this is one of the programs that I describe as being a win for everybody. You take a house that's just leaking energy and go in there and seal it up, greatly reduce the amount of energy that's wasted. The utilities benefit because they get paid because there's less to there. Obviously, it costs less to live there. They're more comfortable. They're safer. We employ a lot of people in our weatherization program, useful tasks. So, it's a win for everybody near as I can tell. Next slide. So, I'm sorry, a little bit more on this. We do very extensive computerized audits of the home. It's a very sophisticated science. Next. We do a lot of insulation, energy conservation is a big part of this. And then next, we also do the county emergency furnace programs, 24/7 if people lose their heat in super cold winter days. Next. The energy assistance, again, that's a different program. So I talked a little bit about the housing development. We do a lot of new housing development. We developed about 300 units on our own, got into some situation where it was clear that there was risk there that was putting the rest of the agency at risk, decided we couldn't take that anymore. But then we're contacted by a for-profit developer, Gerard's, who we've had a fantastic relationship with. And basically, first phone call, he said, we'd like your help, some support being at Choto to, for providing services and support this housing development work we were doing at that time, Menominee. And I said, okay, we need to cut of the developer fee and you take the risk. He said, okay. And there's been about $100 million worth of housing development based on that phone conversation since. It's really been a great relationship and good, again, near as I can tell, for everybody. Next slide. Next slide. So here's just a few of the things that we've done. You'll recognize possibly Glenwood Commons, Rice Lake. We also did a dormitory up there. Craig Fowler knows nothing about this. It was very much in play when we were doing that work. And interesting thing about this facility, if you're into energy stuff, This is heated and cooled with ground source heat pumps, and we did it 15 years ago. Got 24 vertical wells under the parking lot, has saved gazillions of operating dollars. It's been a great thing. And then some of the other projects are listed, New Richmond, upper left, North Hudson in the middle there. Hammond, we did a different style. Just a quick note on the program and the project in the lower right with these big solar flower things around things in the front yard. That project 2 years ago won the top national award for green and healthy housing. And we were very proud, big doings in Washington, D.C., a couple senators, a few congressmen, undersecretaries, everybody. That thing produces, it's an infill site within walkable distance of downtown, produces 70% of its energy on-site renewably. And it's really a remarkable project. And in one of the more expensive counties in the region, we have not had to raise rents there in 3 years because of what we can save on operating costs. We save about $75,000 a year just on energy costs there. So we're big fans of all that.
Can I ask what the rents are there?
It's kind of complicated. I can't give you the exact range because it's based on percentage of county median income. So it's from about, if you're at 30% of county median and we got 10 units in there are for people that are that low income, those would be around $500 a month. You get up to people who are at 80% county median income in a 3-bedroom apartment, we're maybe $1,100. It's in that range. And utilities are included. They don't have a utility bill. There's 1 meter on the entire building. We take all the utilities. Where is that? River Falls, right downtown. For a while, those sunflowers in the front, they're a little bit, I wouldn't buy them for my own farm, but for marketing, they're fantastic. They open up in the morning, they track the sun all day, they close up at night, And this is right on Main Street, and it was almost a traffic hazard for a while because people were so fascinated by things. But that project also has 580 solar panels on the roof. So it's a big deal. Next slide. Yeah, so that got that award, and the governor came down and got a look at it. And one other thing we liked about this, we got great cooperation from the city of River Falls, who built a bus stop right in front of the housing project. It was really cool. They don't have any buses in River Falls. That's a minor thing, but the bus stop is there, and it's beautiful, and we got points for it, which helped get the application funded. So it's not quite that bad. They are planning to put buses in. I mean, they really are. But we're kind of, pushing them a little bit. To do
How many residents are in that building?
That's a 50-unit building,
50 unit. And what was the cost of that building?
about $12 million. So about $240,000 a unit. Okay, next slide. So food access and resources, this is another, big program that WESCAP does. We work with a little over 40 other, community-based organizations, food pantries, school programs, all kinds of stuff that just help low-income people get enough food to eat, Been at it for a long time. We also administer something called a senior farmers market voucher, where seniors can get $35, $45 to help buy produce. It's just a thing that's like on a debit card when you get there. The commodity supplemental food program is for people that are homebound. So we help hundreds of people that are can't get out in the wintertime, and we load up a van with box food that volunteers box up at our main facility, and we deliver them out to people who need the food. Next slide there. Yeah, local food projects. We have managed a farmer's market. We're doing some other stuff. We're often a place for people, products that they can't sell at the farmer's market or other kind of things, fresh produce, we distribute it for them. Next slide. Adult education, mentioned this. We do literacy in 2 counties. We're funded to do that. But that's been very helpful. We also do a program called Skills Enhancement, which was originally set up under Governor Thompson. And basically it's helping people get the skills they need that supports them while they go to school with some, childcare support, housing support, and that kind of stuff, uniforms if they need them. Last year, we started one to help people in the medical field. It's been very successful. So, next slide. Community-based project, just to mention a few things that our staff does, just because they're big-hearted people. We do a big holiday gift drive for kids in a couple school districts, back-to-school supplies, backpack program, and that kind of thing. We do that. The housing assistance, again, there's so that's a very complex world, but there are a lot of different programs, some state, some federal. Again, sometimes I describe our services out there in the world as, you know, we absorb bureaucracy so that the people don't have to and just get the help they need, you know, because a lot of these things are extremely complex to administer, and it's a tough population, tough problem to get at, but we work at it. Next slide. The housing choice vouchers I mentioned, this is a Section 8 program that's based on, you know, if you qualify for that, your rent can't be more than 30% of your income. If there's a difference, the program pays the difference. So, in Barron County, in terms of our direct services by household, there are some programs where we can't ask how many kids are in the house, that kind of stuff. So I just kind of summarize this a little bit. So the housing programs that I listed up there, 278 people, 710 in food access, weatherization and energy assistance, 1,439, adult education, 2. Transportation car ownership, we've got 14 people that we're helping right now in Barron County pay for their car. So that amounts to 2,443 households in Barron County that get some needed assistance from our agency. It translates to about 5,000 individuals. So, and that's how to get hold of us. If you need anything, and I sent a copy of all this to staff here, and also I have a few copies of our annual report. This looks like Wisconsin, I think. Yeah. Which has all this kind of data in it. We've got a few there. You can pick them up. I also have an electronic copy that was also sent to Jeff and Jody, so you should be able to get that. So anybody have any questions or?
Randy?
I have a question. So the Alice report, is that something that's online, or can our administrator request that for the board? It's something I would be very interested in seeing.
Yeah, excellent. Just Google United for Alice, Wisconsin, and you will get Wisconsin's report. If you just do United for Alice, you'll also get the national report that rolls up the whole thing. It's all online. Very good report, amazing methodology. I think you'll find it extremely instructive. When I say it, if you do 23 different states do the additional work to have a state report, and Wisconsin happens to be one of them. And it's very fortunate. And they go down literally to the township level in every county in the state on exactly what things cost and stuff. It's really cool.
Supervisor Banks, do you have a question?
If the government changes every 4 years and we get new legislation, and what would happen if all this went away to help all these people in the entire country? Who picks it up? Or doesn't it get picked up? Do they just keep falling further and further into poverty and trauma? Or what's the outcome?
Well, the outcome, you know, I would just be talking through my hat, frankly. It would be pretty disastrous. You know, these programs were created because of great need. And, you know, folks would be coming to the county, right, for some of that help, I'm sure. They'll be looking to wherever. And one positive thing I'd say about all of that is, and I'm very happy about this, the Community Action Program has gotten great bipartisan support forever. And we are more popular with the legislature, the Congress, than we are with any president or executive. You know, President Obama tried to cut our funding in half a few years back, and I actually stood up in front of this board, and you guys agreed to a resolution to, you know, that we sent on from all of our counties saying, no, we need this program fully funded. It's important here. The Tea Party saved us a few times in a couple of administrations, and, you know, a lot of folks in the political realm, you know, got their start on county boards, and they understand what's, you know, the local level stuff. So, you know, yeah, things could happen that would be pretty dramatic, and my guess on that is yours is as good as mine.
Supervisor Patty Anderson, you have a question?
I have a question. If the Barron County gives you $4,000, where does the rest of your income come from?
Well, I said we have about 105 different funding sources. The bulk of it comes from, in one way or another, from the federal government. I'd say about 90% of the money is either directly or indirectly sourced in Washington. And it's three different ways. One is in direct grants. So we work with HUD directly on especially our homeless programs. Most of the other programs, they send to the states to administer. Okay, so the states then a lot of times will add some of their own money, usually not very much, but some. And so there are different rules on the Community Services Block Grant. That's kind of our core funding. There are some different rules on other programs. In Wisconsin, they've been very generous. You know, we get some help from the utilities that pitch in to, provide, to augment our weatherization program through Focus on Energy and a few other things. A lot of the work that we do around housing development, for us, this has not been profitable, especially when we were doing it ourselves, because we paid much more attention to need than we did, figuring out the money piece. But we still own every property that we ever tried to build and that kind of stuff we ever worked on. But we get a lot of income from that, and it allows us to maintain the structures, right, and keep things going. And we've got 48 units right here in Barron, north of town, and we've got a 23 unit in Rice Lake and that student housing project and all that kind of stuff, and that kind of floats itself. But the remaining 10% is what you're talking about. We get some help from every county that we work in. We get grants. We get a nice big operating grant from the Anderson Foundation, Hugh J. Anderson. We get grants from Otto Bremer that are very generous. We get grants from...
Peter, would a lot of that stuff be in the annual report?
Yes.
Okay.
That's a nice way of saying, shut up. But I appreciate it, and yes.
I do have one more question.
You'll have an annual report
ahead,
that
Randy.
does lay out quite a bit of that. And we
Okay,
also get a lot of private donations. Okay.
So of the 278, I actually have two questions. So of the 278 in Barron County, you said housing 278, you own most of those?
Yes.
And those are subsidized rent?
All of our programs don't directly subsidize the rent. They're all programs where the money comes in up front to lower the building cost.
Okay.
And then we'll end up with like maybe 10% of, bank financed or other repayment money, and the maintenance of the thing is all we have to support by rents. So it allows us to make the rents lower. We don't subsidize the rent for the
okay.
individual.
I get that.
Yep.
And then the food access, the 710, is that similar to our Meals on Wheels, or how does that work?
Most of the food access is in the programs I was describing, either food pantries
Okay.
that we provide the TFAP food for the whole country. That's temporary assistance. And then the commodity program where we bring food directly to people. That's where most of that 710 comes from.
All right, thank you.
You bet.
All right. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you. Yeah.
No, I give them the money, but I will not take the food, and I don't need it.
Okay. All right, that's a political issue. We don't want to keep going on that one. Is there anything else?
Thanks for sharing.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Peter.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Right.
Okay, item number 9, resolution. This is no action item. I'm the one to put this on there because I wanted to inform the board, because hopefully this will be coming back to you again. But at the executive, you saw the executive minutes in the packet. You saw what the executive saw, which is also in the packet. And since that time, and it was 9-0 that we not do the endorsement language, that we just do the letter of support. After we sent that letter of support to Mosaic, there was some additional information that I received regarding the BEAD grant, specifically that endorsement word is needed so that Mosaic or any other the internet provider that wanted to apply needs that wording and endorsement to get some points. So anyway, there's competing grants out there from surrounding counties. Some of the counties right next to us have a larger application than we do. And the way personally I feel, well, I've been told, is that if we don't get this grant for the BEAD program, might be the last chance of it. And there's a lot of people in this county who don't have good internet access, either underserved or not served at all. And, you know, we can talk about, and people say, well, you're just helping Mosaic. Well, no, I'm helping the people of Barron County, because to me, internet's like electricity. You need it. And there's a lot of people in dead zones that don't have it. So all I'm going to do is, because we had a 9-0 motion last time, I'm going to request, well, I'm going to put it on the executive meeting agenda for July 1st. And we'll be providing, Corp Council has already provided a new a resolution. The stuff you see in our packet won't be there. So we're going to discuss it at the executive level. Executive will make a decision, and if they decide to pass it on to the full county board on, was it July 22nd, you'll see it. If you don't, you won't. So, but I surely hope for the people of Barron County, the full board gets to see it, so. Okay, item number 10, the zoning ordinance amendments. You want to take these separately, Jess? Okay. So the first one will be the rezoning the town of Stanley, Travis Hellstern and Vanessa Asperger, the Hellstern owners. Motion by Supervisor Rogers, second by Supervisor Guslake. Is there any concerns with that resolution, rezoning? Seeing none, let's vote. Is John out there talking, or is he? Okay, well, we're gonna abstain him. So 24 yes and 4 absent and 1 vacant, so that passed. Item number 10B, the ordinance amending section 17.08, 17.15, 17.17, 17.20, 17.28, 17.32, 17.33, 17.34, 17.35, 17.36, 17.37, 17.38, 17.5, or 17.50, 17.51, 17.52, 17.64, 17.74, and 17.81 Barron County Land Use Ordinance. Motion by Supervisor Cook, second by Supervisor Moen.
Say, Louis, I'd like to have someone consider making an amendment. Item was brought up on the very first item under 1708, the definition of bathroom. Was just a little bit unclear. And so what the rewording would be simply to delete the word any of and then add the word and after toilet. So it would read, an area within a structure containing the following: sink, toilet, and bathtub or shower. So it just clears that up a little bit so that they're clean up that confusion. So if someone wants to.
I would make that amendment.
Okay. Okay, motion by Supervisor Cook, well, you need to. Have to vote on that one first.
And John, I'm sure you talked to Dave about this.
I talked with Marshall Black,
Okay.
and I talked with Mr. Rogers.
That's key right there.
Okay, this is for the amendment to the ordinance. Motion by Supervisor Wenzel, seconded by Supervisor Heller. Is that right?
No? It's the amendment.
That's what it says on them all. A motion to amend then by Supervisor Cook, seconded by Supervisor Thompson. Supervisor Rogers, question.
I think I saw an email from Jeff for another amendment in specifying when there is a vacancy in the Land Services Department Director, that it'd be clear that it's the county administrator who would appoint a successor to that position. In the amendment that was presented, it was not specified who would do the appointing. And so with that in mind, I can't exactly recall off the top of my head which section that was.
But I think it's, isn't it known that you appoint?
But it's not, if they went beyond state statute and made an ordinance, we need to. Supervisor Rogers is correct. We need to make that amendment.
Okay,
Take care of the one that's on the floor.
yeah. Supervisor Gusick, do you have a question on the bathroom amendment?
No, I don't, not in the
Okay.
bathroom.
Okay, let's vote on that bathroom amendment first.
It's in the toilet.
Yeah. Audrey, I think we're waiting on you.
Oh, I clicked it. Sorry.
Okay, 25 yes and 3 absent. Okay, so that amendment on the bathrooms has been amended. You got the wording for the,
I can hand it to the clerk. It's my, under 17.8 definitions, zoning administrator. I have asked to have it changed to read as follows, quote, "An appointed position, period, as appointed by the county administrator to head the zoning office in accordance with the duties and responsibilities as per section 17.74, which I will hand this to the clerk.
tell me when we're ready. Okay, Supervisor Gusick, did you have a question on this amendment?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
I guess I thought the information we received at the zoning committee talked about delegating when the zoning administrator was out of the office. And now this seems to be changing it drastically.
I don't know, I wasn't there. I don't know who wants to answer that.
I think that's right.
Because it says zoning administrator under the definition, an appointed position to head the zoning office in accordance with the duties and responsibilities as per section 17.74. The zoning administrator may delegate other zoning staff the authority to act on behalf of the zoning administrator. So I was taking that to be if they're out of office for a vacation and something needs to be signed as zoning administrator, he's delegating that authority in their absence. Not what you wrote in your-
I'm not taking that authority away. I'm saying that, as Supervisor Rogers has pointed out, that when this position becomes vacant, we need to define who appoints that zoning administrator. I have no problem with the zoning administrator appointing whoever they want when they're out of the office. That's what my amendment does. It clearly defines who's going to appoint that full-time position.
So what section is that under that we reviewed as a committee?
17.08 definitions. It's in my update, zoning administrator. So it says, zoning administrator, an appointed position to head the zoning office in accordance with the duties and responsibilities as per section 17.74. I just simply say that, change that to say an appointed position, period. Appointed by the county administrator. Doesn't interfere with who they reappoint when they're out of the office.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Okay, Supervisor Rogers, do you have a question?
I want to formally make the motion for that amendment.
Okay. and seconded by Supervisor Wenzel. Okay, so what we're doing is formally doing an amendment that Jeff has the authority to appoint a new zoning administrator in the event we need one. Any questions on that? Not, let's vote.
Well, I have a question. So right now, if the zoning, like any department head comes vacant, there's an application process and somebody goes through that. You're talking temporarily appoint.
No,
No, you're creating an ordinance.
it's not the same as all the other ones we do.
Correct.
Why would it not be treated the same?
Because you're not, you're in this, you're not defining how that person is appointed. I'm simply saying, let's put, if you're going to have the ordinance, let's put it in the ordinance and define that the zoning administrator is appointed by the county administrator.
So Health and Human Services, if,
But we don't have an ordinance that establishes how the Health and Human Services director comes into their office.
I understand, that's my point. I don't know why I would treat this department head any different than I would treat any other, and I understand we don't have one. I would rather see us go back and have a discussion at the zoning committee level before we go ahead and push this here. I don't know why, personally, sitting on that committee, why I would treat it any different and not have however you guys set your application process up and have people apply. That's a pretty large department. It oversees a lot of people. And there are qualifications and a process. I guess I'm not in favor of this amendment.
How have you
Supervisor
handled it before? I'm sorry.
Okay, Supervisor Conan?
Just at the very end of this, I wondered if you wanted to add zoning in front of administrator at the end there, just to clarify which administrator you're talking about. If you're adding in the county administrator part, that was all.
Okay, Supervisor Wenzel?
Who has appointed them before?
Dave was here before there was a county administrator.
Okay.
But he was hired in a process similar to what happens now. I mean,
No.
there was an application,
Yes.
right, and you went before some kind of panel,
I don't know.
and qualifications mattered.
Yeah, he was assistant zoning administrator for a number of years, wasn't he, John?
He was.
Yeah.
Yep, he was.
Well, I guess we can vote on this, and if you vote it down, then you guys can revisit it. If you don't vote it down, then Jeff gets to appoint. Any other questions? Okay, let's vote.
Not working.
Okay, it passed by a majority vote, 17 yes, 7 no, 1 abstain, and 3 absent. So right now, the county administrator is going to have the power to appoint the zoning administrator. I imagine if that doesn't sit well with the zoning committee, you can talk about it there, so. Okay. Item number 11, resolution establishing the 2025 Barron County budget. Oh, that's right, I didn't vote on the main one, did I? Okay. So we need now to vote to pass the main motion with those two amendments. That's motion by Supervisor Cook, second by Supervisor Moen. Any questions on that?
Can I just,
Go ahead.
okay, so I just wanted, I was explaining this after the fact, but one of my constituents was worried about 17.32, 1C, and he said that he would like to see it staying the same because if the wording was changed, the proposed language did not allow for a home business to have an employee, the way it was written. So he suggested to leave it as is with no changes. But then you all said something different, so if you can explain it to me, so I can explain it to him.
So it does allow the home business to have employees. It just, employees can't work out of the home. So if it, say it's a electrician and he's got employees and he does all his book work or he does all his work out of his house, but he's got employees that are on the job sites, it's just that you can't have people outside of family members working in that home business at the house. But you can have employees, you just can't have them working there, having office space there or whatever space there. So that's what that, at least that's the explanation I understood.
Okay. I just wanted him to know I was doing my job because I was excited that he called me.
Any other questions? If not, let's vote. Okay, it passed 23 yes, 2 no, and 3 absent. So, thank you. Okay, item number 11, resolution establishing the 2025 Barron County budget preparation guidelines and timeline. It's basically the same as last year, except for the dates are changed. Is that right? Okay. Motion by Supervisor Hanson, seconded by Supervisor Olson. Is there any questions or concerns on that resolution? Not, let's vote. Passed 25 yes and 3 absent. Okay, next one, resolution designation of public depositories. Motion by Supervisor Turcott, second by Supervisor Moen. Are there any questions on it? Supervisor Gulick had a question.
So if a change is decided to be made by the county as a depository, what will that process look like?
Audrey, I don't think I quite understand, like,
Well, it doesn't specify who the depository is. So we talked about the fact that you have someone you're using, but if that was ever going to change, what would be the process to change it since there's not one named in the resolution?
RFP, wouldn't it?
the resolution authorizes us, let's just back up, maybe this would help. We used to have a resolution that we named every bank that was here.
Yep.
And so then the banks would change name or have a change of ownership, and then we couldn't deposit because they weren't named. So we left it open for institutions within Barron County to be used as a depository, for example, for CDs or money markets. So is your question then, what would happen if that bank would sell again, or?
Or if the decision would be made to use different depositories, is it a bid process? Is it a
Yes.
public notice process? Is it a,
We have
what's the process?
We have an investment committee of Jody, Samantha Summerfield, the treasurer, and myself. And Samantha goes out and seeks bids for, like, for example, for CDs. And we talk about who that depository would be, who's going to give us the best rate. And it's by a competitive process. And sometimes the banks don't want our business, and some of them are very aggressive that they do. We don't prefer one over the other. And oftentimes we use the local government investment pool a lot because it's very fluid and it's very easy to use. So did I answer your question?
Yes, thank
Okay,
you.
good.
Any further questions? If not, let's vote on the resolution of the designation of the public depositories.
Letting you vote.
$25 yes and 3 absent. So it passed. Item number 13, a resolution, fees charged by the sheriff. Motion by Supervisor Banks, seconded by Supervisor Olson. Any questions on that resolution? Seeing none, let's vote. That passed by a majority vote, 25 yes and 3 absent. Thank you. Item number 14, resolution to set a fee for escort assistance in the Sheriff's Department. Motion by Supervisor Olson, seconded by Supervisor Bob Anderson. Any questions on that resolution? Seeing none, let's vote. That passed 25 yes and 3 absent. Thank you. Item number 15, change the July County Board meeting date and time to Monday, July 22nd, 2024 at 9 a.m. Motion by Supervisor Olson, seconded by Supervisor Thompson. Is there any questions on that? Supervisor Banks.
I have a little issue with changing the meetings, because I think in Stone we're the third Monday of the month, right? Well, other people may have commitments to township, city councils, school boards on the fourth Monday.
Yep.
And I don't know, we've got a first vice chair and a second vice chair. I mean, they can fill in, can't they?
Yes, they sure can. I can't be there if it's on the 15th, but if the majority of the people want to leave it like it was, you do that, and Carolyn is our first vice chair, and she'll run that meeting. So yes, you're right. Any other questions? If not, let's vote. $19 yes, 6 no, and 3 absent. So the meeting's been changed to July 22nd, 2024 at 9 a.m. Thank you. Item number 16, progress and financial update on the Barron County Highway Facilities Project. There was a handout in your package that shows, the total funding and everything, but there also is going to be a meeting on June 25th. I believe it's at, is it 8:30, Jody? 8:30 a.m. if anybody else is interested in coming. As far as the funding, we're still a couple $100,000 to the good. IT and Jody are doing an excellent job, as well as Mike Haves at the Highway Department. I don't believe we have a quote yet on the data, okay, on so they can monitor what goes on with the heating, air conditioning out there, but I believe the figure been tossed around is anywhere 200 or so, and so we have enough money to cover that. So right now I believe we'll be in the positive. So you can hang me if we don't. So
We're gonna be in the negative, not over the exceeded negative.
correct. No, we're not going to exceed what we've already allocated toward this project. Correct. Is there any questions? Okay. Going to item number 17, the American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA expenditures. Jody had a. Well, Craig, did you want?
Is this going to be where you're limiting the number of people to be there? So if we don't have a quorum, I mean, would you?
Yes, we can't ever have, 15 board members there. You're talking about the highway facilities meeting on June 25th?
Yeah.
Yeah. I doubt we're gonna have, I don't know if there's that, if we, when we get to 15, we'll have, or get to 14, then we'll have to send the rest of them home, yes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, item number 17, the ARPA expenditures, that hasn't really changed, except for we're gaining some interest on it. As you see, we still got $1.2 million plus there. One time that was for software, and then it was for UWB ECBC expansion. Right now, I don't know what it's going to be used for, so we've got the money sitting there, and when we have Jeff's developing a funding and project plan, and when we get to that, well, I'm sure he'll share it with everybody. Is there any questions on the ARPA funds? Okay, seeing none, we'll go on to 18, the report from the county administrator.
Any questions on agenda item 18 and my update that I sent out? Okay, thank you. My appointments, it has that you just do all my appointments all at one. I think they're pretty
Can
self-explanatory.
we do it one, or do you need them? You can do it as one. Okay. So we're on to 18, or number 19A and B, the appointments as laid out there. Solid Waste Management Board, appoint Kevin Jacobson to replace Craig Fowler as a citizen member. Appoint Steve Johnson to replace Terry Scar as a citizen member. That's for both 3-year terms. And the Commission on Aging, appoint Cheryl Hexeth and Bob Heil for 3-year terms. Motion by Supervisor Olson, second by Supervisor Wenzel for those appointments. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, let's vote. 25 yes and 3 absent. Thank you. Item number 20, claims, petitions, and correspondence. We have none? Okay. 21, suggestions for future agenda items. Jeff's got the Kroger opium litigation settlement.
With the resolutions are being reviewed. And I would ask that we also add for future agenda item, appointment of Supervisor Bob Rogers for the Land Information Council. He would serve as the county board representative on that. And then we've talked about having Horton Group back for July. They've asked to push that back to August to come to the county board to start preparing for the 2025 budget, not in July, but in August. 19th meeting, please.
All right. All right, anything else? Not, then by unanimous consent, we'll adjourn at 8:07. Thanks, everyone.